Hello and welcome to the last betting show of the 2021-2022 NFL season. We did part one of the Super Bowl betting show last Thursday. Today, menu is bigger. Menu is actually out of control. We're doing part two of the betting show. As always, joined by the king himself, Evan Silva, also joined by Mark from Cincinnati. Evan, Super Bowl is upon us. About 4 sleeps away, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 sleeps away. How are you doing?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I think that things have started to crystallize as I was hoping that they would. We're going to give the people some lead pipe, stone cold motherfucking locks today.
Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. You know, it's a fun week to be a sports fan. We've got the NBA trade line going down today, so there's been a lot of action there. Some potentially huge trades. Obviously, the Super Bowl on Sunday, which I'm pumped about. I've got my local Skyline Chili establishment background going today. You can find me there in approximately 48 hours. I will be heading back to Cincy and enjoying the Super Bowl there with some friends and family. So excited for that.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah. Mark utilizing the green screen to make Skyline Chili his background, actually kind of embarrassing. But anyways, last week we took some stuff as the line opened. The line has not moved a ton. You know, I saw some promos out there. Some books are just dying for Rams action. They put some 3.5s out there. Mostly it's been around 4.5. I think mostly 4s now with the line. I'm just curious, Evan, as the line has kind of jumped around a bit, do you have any take on the actual game for the people? We're going to get into a lot of props and a lot of fun props here. I'm just curious if you have any take on the game as you've dove in more. Matchups is up, by the way, on the site right now, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I went with score prediction of 24-20 Rams. I think the Rams are a better team than the Bengals, but the Bengals, they can keep games close. And, you know, we've seen them win some games that we thought that they, you know, probably were, you know, underdogs in. We've also seen the Rams, you know, they're not the steadiest. You know, they'll give the ball over on, or they'll give the ball to the other team on offense, and on defense, you know, they're up and down. They're super talented, and they have by far the biggest advantage of any position group in this Super Bowl when we're talking about the pass rush against the Bengals pass protection. But I think it's going to disappoint people that think it's going to be a big shootout. I like the under on 48.5, and I like the Bengals to cover. Not super. I would want it at 4.5. I would want it at 4.5.
Yeah. That's what I took last week, the 4.5 on this show. Happy with that for now. I agree with Evan that unders are in play, and like it extends to the prop market so hard. Like everybody's taking overs on all these props, and a lot of these props that books put out are actually one way, and by one way I mean they don't even offer an under. Like a lot of stuff is yes and yes only, or over and over only. They don't even offer the other side. So you start getting into spots where, man, I mean, you know, in low scoring games, we've had some low scoring Super Bowls lately. In low scoring Super Bowls, I mean, you can like sweep a prop board, et cetera, et cetera. You know, there's a lot out there if you have a lean that the game is going to be low scoring that you can get a lot of plus money on. We'll get to some of that here as we move along. Mark, I'll give you the honors first here. And by the way, up on the screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube, we did an article. These are not plus EV bets. These are not bets that we think are printing money, but it's Super Bowl. We decided to have some fun. Let everybody, not just the beautiful front-facing on-air talent you see here, but everybody behind the scenes had a chance to put out their favorite prop. We got Kyle in there who makes the ass clown thumbnails for us. We got Jake who narrates Evan's matchups column. If you're a subscriber, you probably listen to Jake read Evan's matchups column too, et cetera, et cetera. So check that out. It's actually free on the site right now if you guys are interested in just some fun stuff that we think slightly plus EV or break even. Anyways, Mark, I'll give you the honors here with your first 5,000 gold star can't miss lock of the Super Bowl.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to go with kind of a dual prop here. And just with looking at the market, I thought it was interesting that these guys were priced right next to each other. And so I'm going to look at the longest reception market here. I'm going to take the over on Van Jefferson at 17.5 yards and the under on Tyler Boyd at 18.5 yards. So again, you know, I was just a little confused at why these players were priced right next to each other. I mean, Van Jefferson has an average depth of target of 14.5 yards on the season, while Tyler Boyd's is at 7.7. Van Jefferson has 20 plus, or he has 12 receptions of 20 plus yards on the season. In games this year, he's had an 18 plus yard reception in 16 of the 20 games. And again, that's what the line is at. He just needs an 18-yard reception. So he's done that in all but 4 games this season. He's been a little bit banged up in the playoffs. He's popped up on the injury report with his knee issue. He left the championship game actually for a few plays to get it tended to. But we've got 2 weeks off here. Obviously, I think his knee will be relatively healthy. He's still out there for almost every play. And then listening to some shows this week, obviously trying to consume a lot of content. On the Mina Kimes show, she had Ben Baby on, who's the Bengals beat writer, and then she had JB Long, who calls the games for the Rams. And anyway, she was talking about how the Bengals really struggle against play action passes. So they're 28th in yards per play against play action. They allow 8.63 yards per play. The Rams are the second best team in terms of yards per pass attempt on play action in the league, actually only behind the Bengals. So I think we're going to get some play action passes, some deep shots here to Van Jefferson. He's going to be out there a ton. I like the over at 17.5 yards. You can get that at minus 120 on most of the major books. And then on the Tyler Boyd side, Tyler Boyd is more of he's a lower A-dot receiver. He's had 7.7 yards averaged at the target this season. He only has 8 games with a catch of 19 plus yards, which is what the line is at. And this line was actually jumping around right before the show. It was at 18.5 minus 125 on DraftKings. And like when I looked to check again, it was at 17.5 minus 130 to the under. So I think this under is picking up some steam. So I would try and hop on it. It's still under 18.5 on Caesars. So I like that for Boyd. And then, just with the Bengals and Joe Burrow is going to be under pressure quite a bit. So I would expect, just kind of some quick short outs to Tyler Boyd over the middle of the field. And I think he's going to come in under this, longest reception line.
Yeah, I still see 18.5 under minus 125 on actually 18.5 minus 115 lines literally moving as the show goes on here. Van Jefferson also 18.5 over minus 110. Somebody must have bet that as they were watching Mark live there. My take on Van Jefferson is he's been playing hurt, it looks like to me. But I think maybe more concerning is that Odell is just like playing so well that now Odell is separated so much from him. I do think Van Jefferson will get a couple deep targets. You saw that deep target to Skournick in the NFC Championship game while Van Jefferson was kind of nursing shoulder or knee or whatever he had going on. I mean, Van Jefferson's going to get deep targets. I think Odell is just separated so much that I'm a little bit worried about volume on Van Jefferson here. But as Mark said, he's going to be out there a ton.
Yeah, and that's why I took the longest reception rather than just the receiving yardage prop, which is a little higher. It's in the 30s. So, I think there's a good chance he only ends up with 1 or 2 catches, and one of them could be for, 18 plus yards.
Yep. All right. Evan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I like betting those longest reception props, period. I think that's like a market that, I don't know, Levitan, you need to look a little bit more into that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're good, all right, but, I think that there's some more opportunities here than meet the eye. Because, I mean, you could, pick a guy like even Van Jefferson, and I probably would take the under on him. But, he could wind up with 1 catch for 7 yards. I mean, like, that's very much in play for him. And just the fact that, I mean, you can bet on a guy who's probably, his ceiling is probably 3 catches. And then if you can hold him under 18.5, but I think the Tyler Boyd is a great bet. And I just fired on that myself. But I like those a lot. I had a lot of success betting unders in those during the regular season.
I'm gonna get you an unders club jacket.
All right, so I'm gonna start out with Rams defense over 3.5 sacks. As of last night, when I looked on DraftKings, it was plus money.
Yeah,
Rams
plus
over 3.5 sacks.
Plus 105 now. Yep.
Yeah, so plus money. So the Rams were number 1 in pass rush win rate on the season, and the Bengals were bottom 3 in pass block win rate. Joe Burrow, of course, took the most sacks in the NFL during the regular season. During the playoffs, he's taken 12 sacks in 3 games. That would be an average of 4, which would get us over this 3.5. And I mean, just you look at the individual personnel matchups. Aaron Donald against Hakeem Adeniji, maybe one of the worst guards in the league. Quentin Spain, the Bengals' other guard. He had a horrible pass block win rate during the season. Von Miller is going to get a ton of reps against Isaiah Prince, who's been filling in for Riley Reif inadequately. So I really, really like this one. I actually like single game parlay. Bengals to cover 4.5. You need 4.5. Under 48.5. Rams over 3.5 sacks. Plus 400.
Oh, baby.
Let's make some money this week, all right?
Now we're talking. Yeah, people love the single game parlays. I certainly am interested in dabbling myself. I've never actually bet a single game parlay myself because I'm anti-fun, but I'm planning on making maybe a couple for the Super Bowl here and kind of telling yourself kind of game stories here for sure. I'm going to add one, Evan, on top of yours. And you didn't mention Leonard Floyd there. And I'm concerned that you didn't mention Leonard Floyd in your little rant there, but you can get Leonard Floyd to record a sack in the game at plus 130. I'm curious, Evan, if there's a reason you didn't mention Leonard Floyd in your little matchup rant there about the matchups with the defensive line versus the offensive line. Do you think Leonard Floyd's not in as good a spot as some of these other defensive pass rushers on the Rams?
I'm looking up Leonard Floyd, his specific sack stats right now, but he's not really like a big sack guy.
Yeah, I mean,
he kind of does the dirty work more than the other. He had 9.5 this year.
Yeah, and he had one. And he had one in the game against the Bucs. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, I think if you think it's like all hell is broken loose, Rams pin their ears back, Rams get to the quarterback, Leonard Floyd's going to get one. Like,
you're right. I'm with you. I think it's awesome to add. All right, can we add this to our same game?
I can try. But yeah, I mean, Leonard Floyd at one time was like an elite prospect. I mean, I think he was a top 10 pick. I mean,
he was a top 10 pick. He was.
Yeah, I mean, he was. He's 29 years old now, but I still think Leonard Floyd can get to the quarterback. And like, man, if you're paying all attention to Von Miller and Aaron Donald, and I believe that Zach Taylor will have game plans to try to slow those guys down, Leonard Floyd could start seeing a lot of stuff off the edge. So plus 130 on Leonard Floyd to record a sack in this game here.
Can we add him?
Let me try. I had some of the longest reception here stuff. Yeah, you can't parlay like Rams total sacks over and Leonard Floyd to record a sack also. Yeah. It's too correlated. But we can be men and do straight bets. All right. Mark, back to you.
Cool. So, the second one I'm going to bring up here, it's a points bet specials only. So hopefully you have points bet. And just scrolling through, I thought this was interesting. They have these reception bands. So you can choose, a player to fall in between 3 and 5 receptions, 6 to 8, 9+, whatever it may be. And they have different odds for those. And for Cooper Kupp, his between 6 and 8 receptions is plus 120. And to record 9 or more is plus 105. So with both of those being at plus odds, if you bet both of them, you're essentially locking in a profit if Cooper Kupp catches 6 or more balls. So it's a little more profitable if you bet the 6 to 8 range at plus 120, but the 9 or more is plus 105. So if he catches 9 or more, you could, make $5 or $10 or whatever. So, it's not like the most exciting bet in terms of potential return, but you are kind of locking in a profit here. And I've been using the unabated prop tool, and you can plug in ETR's projections in there and kind of see what it spits out. And so using that prop tool, they have a projected chance of 86% that Cooper Kupp catches 6 or more passes based on our projections. So I already bet if both of those at points bet, locked in a little bit of a profit, I think, unless Cooper Kupp fails to catch 6 balls. So I'll just take the little free money there from points bet.
Mark coming on with the arbing. Yeah, I mean, there's 14% chance, according to that simulation, 14% chance he stays under 6. There's a math problem there somewhere for somebody much smarter than me to figure out how good that is for sure. But yeah, I mean, and also I would encourage people not just like stuff like that within the same book, but across different books. I mean, there's a lot of spots. If you're looking to just lock in profits, like there's a lot of spots where the lines are pretty far off from book to book. Like, man, I mean, not that you can arb this one or anything like that, but I took the one Leone found, the CJ Azoma 44-1 to score 2+ touchdowns. It was 44-1 on FanDuel. At the same time, it was 15-1 on DraftKings. So like, and this was a couple of days ago. It's obviously gone now, but man, I mean, if you're hungry and searching across books, you can really find some stuff like that. Similar to what Mark is talking about, except across different books, might be able to find a little bit bigger edges there. Evan, back to you.
Well, I just want to start out by saying shout out to us for being way ahead of the closing line for interception props for both Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. You know, on last week's show, we gave out, I mean, just gobs of value. I mean, you know, because the people have been hitting these interception props to the point where you can't play them anymore. But I wanted to give us a big shout out to us.
Yeah, you're saying that you wanted to take interceptions. Now it's over. For Joe Burrow to throw an interception, now it's minus 145. For Stafford to throw at least one interception, now it's minus 165. You're saying that you got those at better numbers.
Yeah, we did this last week. It was like minus 125 and minus 135, and now they're minus 140 and minus 150. So
yeah, 145 and 165. Yep. Shout out to us. Okay, carry on.
Okay. Did we do the Jamar Chase over 3.5 rushing yards last week?
So we actually released that official.
Yeah,
so
you did. That's right.
We took over 2.5 at minus 110 or so. I still think at over 3.5, it's good, man. Like I think they're going to try to get the ball in Jamar Chase's hands. But yeah, we released that official if you're in the Discord.
And then it moved up to 4.5 on DK. I know that.
Yeah, but you can still find some 3.5s out there for sure. I still like that one.
I like Cam Akers under rushing yards.
Okay.
I mean, I just, you know, Darrell Henderson is back. What is it up to, by the way? Okay. Yeah, it's still at 64.5. I still like the under. Definitely
64.5 on Cam Akers. Yeah. And we've been talking about this one all week.
Yeah. I know. And Leone is backing down, isn't
he? I mean, he's on the very pro Cam Akers side. We have a pretty big projection on Cam Akers. My next bet's actually be related to Cam Akers also. And so I can go on a little spiel here. You know, a lot of the usage situations in this game are set. The one spot that's not set, where we don't know exactly how it's going to be, is Rams running back, because we don't know how much Sony's going to play. We don't know how much D Hendo's going to play. We don't know how healthy Cam Akers' shoulder is after he missed a bunch of time in the NFC Championship game. So you get into a muddled spot here. And so it's tough. I mean, in muddled spots, I typically want to go under. I think you can make a case that Cam Akers is their guy and has run into two really brutal matchups. You know, obviously Bucks and 49ers are two of the toughest matchups a running back can face. This will be softer, but I kind of agree with Evan that it's too muddled for it to be 64.5 here. And so,
and I mean, they haven't had success as a running game, and now they're bringing back a guy that, I mean, I know he hasn't played since week 12.
He played a couple times since week 12, but like sparingly. Yeah.
Right.
And he's talking about Darrell Henderson, of course. Yeah.
And the way that Sean McVay talked about his three guys yesterday, he was like, we're going to like ride the hot hand. I mean, they've been bad in the running game. Like, they may view Darrell Henderson as a way to, you know, inject some life into their running game. I still think that's that Sony Michel is going to be like the 30%, Cam Akers 50%, and maybe Darrell Henderson 20%. But I think that would be, you know, that would even be a little aggressive on Darrell Henderson. But I mean, I think it could go any way. If Darrell Henderson comes in and breaks like, you know, an 11-yard run and then a 9-yard run, like, they're going to give him the ball again.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that there is definitely a hot hand element in play here. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to bet the under on Cam Akers.
Okay.
Rushing.
So I kind of want to be like Cam Akers also here. And so I thought a way to do that could be in these matchup bets. So most of the sites have them. I'm on DraftKings here. If you go to Super Bowl specials and then player matchups, they have, you know, like most receiving yards, Cooper Kupp versus Jamar Chase, you know, most receptions, Odell versus Tyler Boyd, et cetera, et cetera. One that you can get is most rushing yards, Joe Mixon versus Cam Akers. They're both minus 110. We currently have Joe Mixon for 74 rushing yards, 74.3, and Cam Akers for 70.0. I just think that when you're thinking about a range of where guys are going to be, the range on Cam Akers is wider because all the stuff we just talked about with Sony, with the shoulder, with the fumbles, with Darrell Henderson coming back into the mix. And so I think Joe Mixon at minus 110 to have more rushing yards in this game than Cam Akers makes a lot of sense to me. Joe Mixon's been very inefficient at times this year, but as Evan said, this Rams running game has been broken for a while here as well. And so, yeah, I think Joe Mixon is like really likely to get 15, 16, 17 carries in this game. Cam Akers could be anywhere from 9 carries to 22 carries, and I would not be surprised. And so just when you have a wider range like that, when you're betting head to head, you want to look at the median. And I think Joe Mixon, more rushing yards than Cam Akers, makes a lot of sense. Mark, any comments on that one before we get to any other fun stuff we want to talk about?
I think just in general, betting unders on backfields that utilize 3 running backs is, going to be a profitable strategy. So, I am in on the Akers under. I did kind of bet that. The Mixon, I think straight up is an interesting way to play it too. I'm just a little worried, as you mentioned, about the inefficiency there and the Rams D line. Like, I'm just not sure very many holes are going to open up for Joe Mixon. Yeah. So I think I would lean to the straight up Akers under compared to the straight head to head there.
Okay. Any other fun bets anybody wants to mention here before we sign off for the final time on this very influential, important show?
I don't know how fun this one is, but I kind of like it. Both T. Higgins and Odell Beckham in the Super Bowl to each have a 30-plus yard reception. T. Higgins and Odell Beckham.
That's a fun one.
Yep, plus 550. So
I was about to say, you got to get good odds on that because they're both. Yeah. Their longest reception, I think, is like mid-20s.
I know, Mark. All right. Jeez, man. You trying to teach me again?
Oh, man.
Jack found one that's interesting that I wanted to mention. Jack, who grinds the props with us on Bet Rivers Canby books, what time will the game be completed? And the line was 10 p.m., 10:14 and 59 seconds Eastern time. I mean, and obviously he bets earlier. And so the game to be done before 10:14, 59 seconds, that's a fun bet to me. I mean, come on. What could be more fun than sitting there rooting for the game to be over? It's enough already. It's enough already with the NFL season. Other one that I think I saw, what was the one that, somebody sent me a DM yesterday, and I'm not going to reveal any names here. A source sent me a DM yesterday saying they have someone who was in the stadium during rehearsal of the national anthem, and they timed it, and they think it's going to go over the line. That's not a legal bet. You can't bet that, I don't think, on DraftKings or FanDuel or anything like that. But if you have access to offshores, I can't vouch for it, but I've been told over national anthem time is the bet. Didn't give me the time though, the actual time. So we'll see.
Let's just say that's the important part is what
right
over what number. Yeah,
it's a good point. Okay.
I have a couple just long shots. That points bet one of the Cooper Cup wasn't a super fun one, so I'll get some potential money makers here. My biggest long shot was a Super Bowl MVP bet, and I bet Jalen Ramsey at 100-1. So he's as low as like 66-1 on Rivers. But so I mentioned that Mina Kimes podcast, and she had on the Rams play-by-play guy, and he mentioned that Ramsey's utilization has changed in the playoffs. So I looked into it a little bit, and he has 141 snaps outside in the playoffs, 14 in the slot, also 15 in the box, 1 on the defensive line. So that's 82.5% of his snaps have been playing outside compared to 57% in the regular season. So, we've talked about his utilization a lot during the year. And so I think he's going to be outside covering Jamar Chase. Obviously, there's been a lot of kind of back and forth of Ramsey saying that's going to happen as well. And we know Joe Burrow is going to throw to Jamar Chase in one-on-one coverage. So I think there's going to be some potential interception opportunities here for Ramsey. Obviously, he's a big name on the Rams defense. It's Aaron Donald 1. You could potentially put Von Miller 2 since he's on the defensive line. But then Jalen Ramsey is obviously up there as well. So he kind of has the profile. And we're obviously, we're getting 100-1 here. So like I had a $25 free bet that I threw down on it. Think it's a little interesting. I was curious why he was so low compared to someone like Aaron Donald, who's 14-1. And just so I looked back to see if corners had ever won the Super Bowl MVP. And there have been a few. Most of them recorded at least 2 interceptions. Mm-hmm. So, we might need 2 here, but when I kind of think this is going to be a low scoring game as well. So if the Rams defense dominates and Jalen Ramsey gets an interception or 2 and the D line kind of, spreads out the sacks amongst all the D linemen, then I think there's a chance he could win. And at 100-1, I think it's a little fun. So I did bet that at 100-1 on Jalen Ramsey, Super Bowl MVP.
Yes. 100-1 is always fun. Arbing off $5 on Cooper Cup, not fun, but Jalen Ramsey 100-1 for fun. I also like these cross sport bets. And if you guys look, a lot of sites have them. We sent out an email with one that Dink found. Hopefully you guys saw that Cooper Cup longest reception plus 1.5 versus LeBron James points. How many points will LeBron James score versus the Warriors on February 12th versus Cooper Kupp's longest reception? Dink looked at that one and found that he thought it was pretty solid. Cooper Kupp longest reception plus 1.5 there. I also think how many Jason Tatum threes versus Los Angeles Rams touchdowns. You can get Jason Tatum threes at plus 160. I know Evan likes that one. He actually is close personal friends with Jason Tatum from their time together at Chaminade High School.
Time together,
right. But yeah, I that cross-sport squad fun. And again, like as you're looking, if you like under in this game, there's so many different ways to play it. And like, you know, an example would be taking Jason Tatum threes versus Los Angeles Rams touchdowns. If you think it's under, obviously Rams only going to score 1 or 2 touchdowns. You think Jason Tatum is really likely to make 2, 3, 4 threes. Dude is a baller. Do you want to tell the people the Jason Tatum story at all, Evan, or should we just leave that out there?
Nah, I mean, there's no great story. I mean, it's he went to my high school.
Yeah.
So
Evan went to a basketball factory. David Lee, Jason Tatum.
David Lee was in my class, and then along came Bradley Beal, who was sick. And then came Jason Tatum, and like he was better than all of them. You know, it was amazing to watch those guys in high school. Tyler Boyd also he's on the Bulls right now. Jericho Helms, who's at NC State, he'll be in the league.
When Jason Tatum was in high school, Evan told me that there's a kid named Jason Tatum who's going to be better than Bradley Beal and David Lee. And I mean, David Lee was an awesome player for you guys who don't remember. And obviously Bradley Beal is an all-star player. And I was like, man, Evan doesn't know anything about basketball. And of course, turns out that I should have been buying the Jason Tatum stock. Dude,
you should have been buying the NFTs back then.
Oh, my God. Jason Tatum is awesome. All right. Enough's enough. We've gone off the rails. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out here. Obviously, we've had a lot of fun doing the betting show. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed it as well all year. Please, please, please reach out to us. We're working on our product map for next year. Reach out to us with what you want to see from the betting side. I know everybody's intensely interested in it. It's harder than it seems to come up with products or content that you guys want for betting. So please send them to us if you guys have any ideas of what we can do to help you guys beat the sports books. For Evan, for Mark, for producer Adam, I am Adam. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Be safe out there. Good luck.